stunned silent. Is that somebody calling any question?
Another question. Martin, you said that people cared in the area. What would you do if people don't actually care about the place they live and use it only as a flat, and then it's just the way from A to B to work, or from a place where you live to the centre? How do you force people to care about the place?
I like that. That's a great idea, isn't it? Forcing people to care.
Because I mean, you assume that they care about the place, and you were like, you have people that actually cared, and they got involved in the process. But what if you come to the place and people are just not much interested?
Okay. Well, I don't. Not everybody cares when you arrive. In fact, most people are rather kind of broken by the whole thing in many ways, or they've given up believing that anybody will ever do something, so you just have to pull it out of your mind and get on with it. And we found this everywhere we've worked, there will be someone in that community, even if it's one person, who does care enough to be energised by the conversation. And the reason I put a lot of pictures in early on of us talking to people was because those early conversations actually were difficult because a lot of people didn't care and they didn't believe we were ever going to do anything to improve things. They thought it was just another one of those conversations with council people that would bring them nothing and it would just waste their time. I don't believe people don't care, because I think, you know, the human spirit is about caring one way or another. I think when you don't believe anyone's going to do anything for you, maybe you close that piece off, but it can be reopened. And I think what happened here, and I've seen it happen in other places, is if you can spend the time, and you only need to find one or two people who you can animate and get part of the community, who get excited, and that spreads quite quickly. Just the same way that being dispirited spreads quickly, so does it, encouraging people and getting them to believe. You know, belief is a kind of human emotion, and if you get people to think, actually, this could happen, this will happen. So, yeah, people. I don't believe people don't care. I think they might not appear to care, and they do that. We all do that for reasons of survival. I think if you've been trying to reach out to somebody for years and you get nothing back, eventually you have to stop. It's too difficult emotionally for you to do, and that's the same if you've been appealing to your local council for 30 years and you've watched the place you live in go into neglect. You can't keep getting up every morning caring. You'll break yourself. You have to go, okay, I'll cut off from this and let's get on with our life. But I think you can, we've never found yet that you couldn't get somebody in there to get back into the process. And you have to, you have to stay around long enough for them to believe, you have to keep coming back and saying, we're still here, we still want to do this. And then eventually people go, well, okay, maybe these guys are different. Maybe they will do something. And you have to do, as I said earlier on, you have to do stuff early on. I think it's really important to do some things as quickly as you can, which show everybody that this isn't just talk, it's not just the city government, the city council trying to make themselves look good. Get in there, make something better. You keep talking about it. Now do something, show us that we're doing it. And that made a big difference. As soon as people could see us starting to do the work on the park and the road, and the health centre starting to come out of the ground, the whole spirit then changed a lot actually, and that's when people got really engaged in the process with their houses and all of that. So, yeah, I would give up. If you told me nobody cared, I wouldn't want to be in a world like that. So I think people care, you just have to find it.
One question. Do you work with young community, with young people, with high school students? Because on your slides there are mostly people of middle ages. Does this mean that young people don't really care about their future houses, or you just don't involve them?
These are all young. Now, there are a lot, if you've looked at those images I've showed you, actually in these there are quite a lot of young people. I think it's a fair point, and one of the most difficult groups to get engaged into, if they are a group at all, but it's very difficult to get them engaged into a process because, well, on the one hand they're very good because they don't carry around with them all that baggage of the past. They don't mistrust you because of things you haven't done in the past. They just look at you like they look at anybody else. So that's quite a good thing because they're open. But they're not. You have to find a different way to talk to them, and I think that's when that point that Nick Johnson makes in his talk. It's not actually just about listening. Of course, listening is very important, but you have to also find the language to talk to each other. So that, and it's important that you speak their language somehow or another. There's no need for them to change their language; it works for them. But if you're coming in to try to help, you've got to try to listen to the things which are important to them. So, you know, the kids playing there, they wanted a park they could play. They wanted a park that they weren't going to get told off in every day. They wanted streets they could play on. I think that's really important. And it's particularly important in the public realm, out in the streets and spaces, because it's very easy to push young people out of public spaces, actually, because somehow or another if we see a group of young kids sitting around in a public square, we think that they must be up to no good. They're probably doing nothing at all. If we see 6 old people sitting around in a square, we think, oh, that's charming, look at the nice old... maybe the nice old people are plotting the next revolution and the kids are trying to stop them. The point is, those kids may well be doing something, probably are doing something very innocent. The moment you start to exclude them from a place, they end up in places where they're very vulnerable, where they can get actually into quite serious trouble. And when you exclude people, you lose all awareness of them. You stop thinking and caring for them because they're not here anymore. And you don't even know they're not here because you can't see them. So your question is really important. You've got to get to everybody in the community as far as you can. I mean, this isn't a perfect process. These people don't dance around every day happily. But it was a much better process than we'd seen before. You've got to try to get to every element of that society. Because these kids are, you hope, going to stay here and want to have their families here. You're trying to make a place that generations want to stay in, not keep moving. Because in that state where they were all born, everybody just wanted to get out. And that's not, you can't have sustainable communities if everybody wants to leave. You need people to want to stay.